And then afterwards, Bernie's gonna actually talk to us a little bit about the food, and then it's really casual, just make new friends, get together to go friends, so, and then, so, yeah, so Ria, thank you. And please sit, where we get cookies, well, be sure.
I feel like there's like a wall. You're gonna have to talk people right there. Thank you, Dr. B.
I know.
Thank you so much for like sharing and inviting people to your home. So it's so meaningful. I don't have adequate words to express my appreciation to all of you who are sharing this moment. For you, the people that were at the opening last night, you know that I grew up in the Philippines. I was 13 when I moved to the U.S. and then I was 24 when I moved to St. Louis. So I've been here really most of my life. But it wasn't until 2019 that I discovered that my great-grandfather was brought to St. Louis in 1904 for the World's Fair. So back then, for that event, over 1,200 Filipinos were imported and brought to live right over there. Wydowns was the border to the Philippine village, and for you local folks, the dip in Wydown Terrace was actually Arrowhead Lake. So it was filled with water and people would have to cross over a bridge to get into the Philippine village, which was 47 acres. It was the largest exhibit and most popular exhibit at the fair. So my grandfather was a pensionado, so he was one of 100 in this inaugural class of this program that was established by William Taft. And the idea was that they would take these boys who got selected by examination to study, to go to college in the US and then go back and serve in the colonial government as civil servants. So unlike the indigenous people who were brought here and put on display, this group, the indigenous people were wearing their like native attire, and they lived, albeit performatively like they did in the Philippines. The pensionados were in Western style clothes. They spoke perfect English, and the intent was that they would show the American public how the Filipinos were so easily molded into little brown brothers, what they were actually called. So this collection that opened at the Angad is really about my kind of obsession with the American occupation and that whole historical and cultural inflection point, and how language and stories and education were used for the expansion of the American empire and the export of American culture and values. So that's why I use books, generally speaking, and even in this piece, which was in the collection before the one at the Angad, I was already taking like newspaper clippings and using that as collage underneath the stories that I wanted to tell as a Filipino American. So that's kind of the premise behind my work, my art practice, is that, and really how the decisions that were made back then had ripple effects. That events in the past, like history, is alive and it is continuing to affect our lives today. So that policies and events don't just affect the people that are living back then, but that are alive now. My kids, Exhibit A and B, they don't speak Tagalog, sorry, but I had an ancestor who was very insistent that his family speak American English. So that's kind of the backstory behind my work. And if you get a chance, feel free to go down to the Angad